additional cost. Our body shops have over 30 years combined experience. The Paint Girl handles all makes, models, lease return repairs, and insurance claims. Your smart choice for vehicle repair, The Paint Girl. Call 954-691-7024. That's 954-691-7024.
The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
AMP2.TV presents Tell Us Your Business, where you're invited on the air to tell us what makes your business stand out in the community. It's important we hear from you to tell us all we need to know about what you do best. Tell Us Your Business uses the latest radio and television production systems, and all shows can be seen on AMP2.TV. If you have a question for our guest, call 888-565-1470. Now, let's get ready as our guest hits the airwaves and informs us about what we need to know on Tell Us Your Business.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to our show tonight. My name is James Freese with Your Life Recovery Center. Your Life Recovery Center is a substance abuse and mental health rehabilitation facility out of South Florida in Boynton Beach. We are on the Bethesda East Hospital campus, and we're here tonight to talk about addiction. I'm also here tonight with Mark Scott. Mark Scott is a 35-plus year Boca Raton resident who's watched the industry down here and watched it grow and watched the ebbs and flows of the industry, and he's also experienced some addiction issues in his own family. I'm also here with Walter Bernstein. Walter Bernstein is a former VP of Student Life from 2000 to 2013 at Western Connecticut State University, and we're here tonight to have a discussion about addiction in America. Walter, let's start with you. In your position as the Vice President of Student Life at Western Connecticut State University, you observe firsthand what addiction does to young people, what the impact it has in their life and in their families and young people's families. And we want to talk to you tonight about how you dealt with that on campus life.
Well, thank you. Honored to be here and have the opportunity to talk a little bit about drug and alcohol issues on college campuses where I spent most of my professional life teaching and in administration. One of the interesting things about working on a college campus is that drinking and, in recent years, substance abuse really came to be seen as part of going to school for a lot of these young people, so that there was a certain freedom that students had once they got to campus and they were able to experiment with either alcohol and or drugs. So one of the problems is that the culture on college campuses seems to, for the students at any rate, promote this kind of behavior and this kind of thinking. So when a student arrives on campus, in the early part of the freshman year, we used to talk to the students about peer pressure, fraternity and sorority parties, off-campus parties, and the dangers that could come along with a lot of young people who didn't know what was going on. So unfortunately, college life includes this aspect of socialization. And as you know, there are many schools that have quote-unquote party reputations. When you hear that phrase, that a certain campus has a party reputation, that usually means there's a lot of drinking and drugging going on that campus. So in my situation, back in 2002, there was a report released by the National Institute of Health called A Call to Action. It was the first time in many years that everyone in the country saw a major problem with college students and drinking, and the impact that was having on suicide, auto fatalities, and sexual abuse. So drinking and drugging were linked to those issues. This report then really spurred campuses across the country to do something. In my case, I had to convince, at that time, the president to hire a full-time drug and alcohol prevention coordinator on the campus, which we were able to do finally. We had a lot of faculty support for it because we had a big problem, but no one on the campus to handle it. So bottom line, college campuses are a very fertile place for kids, college freshmen especially, to experiment in this area. Now, in recent years, I retired about 5 years ago, but over the last 10 years, we began to see students coming to college with these problems that had already developed in high school and in some cases in middle school and elementary school.
Now, you know from your experience that you are advocating for substance abuse and mental health treatment awareness all the way back in 2000, asking the president of the college to hire a full-time member just to handle these issues. But the New York Times last year just came out with a piece stating that opioid overdoses are the leading cause of death in America in Americans, male and female, under the age of 50 years old. Now, why do you think it is that we're just seeing these things come out now in such great numbers when you know that this has been an issue in the country for the last 13 years in your position?
Yeah. In Connecticut, on the college campuses, this issue with opioids started to emerge about 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, when we began to see students exchanging prescription drugs with each other, that they were now going to the medicine cabinet at home, taking out medicines and handing them out also at social functions, parties, off-campus parties or whatever. That was kind of my first awareness of what this opioid situation was going on. And then, of course, we got into pain medication. A lot of our students were on, they were dealing with depression, because there is, as you know, this link between mental health and substance abuse. So a lot of our students who were having issues around mental health were also taking antidepressants. They were taking painkillers. If they had some kind of sports injury, they were on painkillers. So all of a sudden, this became an emerging issue. And of course, today, it's a major problem where the companies now are kind of agreeing to cut back on the number of opioids that they allow to be manufactured and allowed to be. So that's what we began to see. But at the beginning, it was really going back to the 70s and 80s on the college campuses. It was drinking. Now today, with marijuana about, I think, to be legalized across this country, it's creating a lot of problems in the states, which have their own laws about how much marijuana or whatever you can take. And then, of course, there's medical marijuana being used. So I think right now, we're in a time of flux. We're in a real time of flux with this, trying to figure out what exactly are the issues. But opioids, major, major problem. And I still think alcoholism is up there with that issue.
Yeah, I'd like to also talk to you about if you think that there's a correlation between the legalization and leniency of drug use in America and the increase in addiction and in overdose and in a general problem that we have to solve in this country. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. We do have a commercial coming up here in a few minutes. I'd also like to, when we come back from the commercial, I'd like to talk to Mark about his experiences here as well. Sure. Mark's been a resident in Boca Raton for 35 years. He's watched these centers open and close down here in South Florida. He's watched the addicts pour down here to try to get help. And we'd love to hear what you have to say about the impact that's had on the communities and families, not just where these people come from to get help, but also on these destinations where they're coming to get help. So when we come back, let's talk about
Sure.
that.
Let's get to that. The opinions expressed on the following.
This is Alyssa, the Paint Girl. Car accidents happen. Get the most affordable, convenient, superior vehicle repair with concierge service. The Paint Girl provides pickup and delivery with no additional cost. Our body shops have over 30 years combined experience. The Paint Girl handles all makes, models, lease return repairs, and insurance claims. Your smart choice for vehicle repair, The Paint Girl. Call 954-691-7024. That's 954-691-7024.
You are listening to Tell Us Your Business, where our invited guests share all the knowledge of their business and how important it is what they do in our community. If you want to be part of the conversation, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and tell us what's on your mind. Now, back to Tell Us Your Business.
Welcome back, everyone. My name is James Freese. I'm here with Mark Scott and Walter Bernstein. We're talking about addiction in America tonight. Now, before the break, Mark, we were talking about your life down here in South Florida, watching the addiction industry grow and watching patients come down here to get clean and sober, addicts coming down here to get clean and sober. You also had some family experiences that you came on to share tonight. So first, I wanted to thank you for having the courage to come on the show and speak so openly about your family. This is a very stigmatized issue in America still today. As much awareness and as much openness that we have today regarding the issue, there's still a lot of stigma that surrounds it. So I wanted to say thank you for coming on and sharing your story.
Thank you. Yes, it's it's easier to talk about today. And you go back a few years, 10 years. I've lost my brother back in 2008. When we lost him, we just thought, well, he was a weak individual, never wanted to really get sober, never wanted to get away from taking prescription medication or abusing it, not even thinking that it was a problem because it was acceptable, and he would have been at the age today, 65, 68 years old, where who even noticed it, who looked at it years back? So I was a sober, stable person in that world, angry, because I just couldn't solve it with wanting to put him in a headlock and say stop or don't do that. What did I know? So a lot of frustration there. And I saw it destroy the inner linings of my own family, my mom, my dad. Even maybe their separation was in a way caused of abuse or alcohol is from their own firstborn son. So I saw all that, and I just stood aside and thought, well, I don't do any of that. But I realized it wasn't until some years later that I some might say softened up, and I guess so, but felt a need to want to be a voice for the sober family members, to let them know that you can't just be because you're sober and they're not, that there's something wrong with them. You've got to save them. So it's a never-ending battle. And then funny how I would wind up living in South Florida 35 years ago, and it was all around. It was all around, and it was, again, acceptable. Oh, okay, we'll have a drink or two or three or four, and that's okay. He's silly. Oh, we'll take a few Tylenol. Well, years later, you see the deterioration. It's frustrating. I'm encouraged what you all are doing at your recovery. I'm wanting to be involved because I see more than, and it's their words today, because I'm just getting started on this end. But I'm telling you that I see a difference here. I see people that are saying, let's get out, let's clean this, not only the local area, but the individuals, and let's help the family. The families, that the sober ones who are now are so affected by those who just want to deteriorate a family. So it's a lot of emotions come out talking about it, and I guess it's okay to be emotional about it, where it used to be I better go not let someone see me have a tear or feel a loss. So I want to be the voice for those folks.
Thank you so much, and I think you're onto something there, because I've noticed working in the industry for 4 years now, people get involved when it affects them, right? People get involved. For someone that might not have been involved, right, and then it affects their family or a relative or a friend in some way, then they get involved, right? So one of the things I wanted to talk tonight about is solutions to this problem, right? We obviously haven't found one in this country yet, because there's still so much of this going on. But there is more access to treatment than there has been ever before in this country. So, in your position, what are some of the things that you did back at the university, and what are some things that you might prescribe today? You know, observing what's going on in the country. How can we start to fix this problem, or continue to fix this problem?
You know, thinking about what Mark just said about his brother and the impact on his family, we would see that with our students on the college campus who were caught in this this web of substance abuse. And most of the listeners out there are going to probably think this sounds like a cliche, but really we found that one of the first steps that anyone had to take was to recognize that they had a problem. Mm-hmm. It's very hard to solve a problem when you don't think you have one. And
step number one. Many
students would come in and talk either to counselors or to the drug and alcohol people and blame this one or that one. And that made it more difficult for us to plan some kind of treatment plan. But once a person was saying, okay, I have a problem, which I think is at the essence of AA, we were able to move from that point to offering strategic ways of tackling their problem. It's important, I think, to understand that everybody's response to recovery is really unique. There is not one plan or one approach that meets everyone's needs. Mm-hmm. There are some common issues, but so step one is I have a problem, and then step two, what's out there, what's available to me. And many of these issues are related to mental health. Mm-hmm. I'm a huge proponent of mental health counseling and therapy. Mm-hmm. Always have been in my own life for myself, mm-hmm. but I'm a big believer in it. And this is particularly a problem for men. Mm-hmm. For some reason, men have a tough time often acknowledging a problem and then, God forbid, trying to get some help. Women seem to do this a little bit more easily. So it's hard to do one without the other. There's usually some mental issue at work. And of course, as you know, there are some genetic issues here. There are some brain chemical things going on. One of our concerns with young people at college was that if they were smoking and abusing alcohol, those brains at 18 or 19 are not fully formed. The research clearly shows that you could still be damaging your brain right up until your time you're 23, 24, 25. So there are obviously some, critical medical issues here. I'm not an expert in that dimension, but so the approach was, do you have a problem? Can you admit you have a problem? And here's what we can do to help. And oftentimes it included going to counseling and working with the drug and alcohol people, and what they call a strategic preventive framework, which is, we don't have the time to get into the details of that, but they would structure or tailor a program for each person on how to tackle this. Very often it included going to AA meetings or, those kinds of programs. You asked a question earlier, is the legalization of marijuana, for example, going to open the floodgates to more abuse? It's a great question. Mm-hmm. It's on everyone's mind. I worry about the increase in traffic fatalities. We're going to have a lot more people driving around stoned and hammered. Not good. Mm-hmm. Not good. But I don't know the answer to that question. It's debated on both sides of the coin. Is it a gateway drug? I don't know.
Absolutely. We're going to a commercial break. We talked a little bit about the client side. Now we're going to talk about what we can do when we come back.
This is Alyssa, the Paint Girl. Car accidents happen. Get the most affordable, convenient, superior vehicle repair with concierge service. The Paint Girl provides pickup and delivery with no additional cost. Our body shops have over 30 years combined experience. The Paint Girl handles all makes, models, lease return repairs, and insurance claims. Your smart choice for vehicle repair, the Paint Girl. Call 954-691-7024. That's 954-691-7024.
You are listening to Tell Us Your Business, where our invited guests share all the knowledge of their business and how important it is what they do in our community. If you want to be part of the conversation, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and tell us what's on your mind. Now, back to Tell Us Your Business.
Very genuine.
Welcome back, everyone. We have a few minutes left in our show. We were just talking before about if you're suffering from addiction, what you can do, asking for help and reaching out to treatment methods that are available, access to treatment. Now, access to treatment is something that I think is going to be a big part of the solution. We have more access to treatment today, but we still need more of it. One of the things that we do at our center is we offer 2 to 3 scholarships every month for people that can't afford treatment or that don't have insurance. And I think that if we're going to solve this problem as a country, everyone has to take a part in it. I think what treatment centers can do, like ours, is offer more scholarships. I think that there can be more grants offered to private rehab facilities. There should be more state facilities opened. And anyone who has any kind of public platform should use that platform to tackle this issue. I mean, it affects it. I don't know any friend or family that this issue hasn't affected in this country. And if we're going to solve it together, we all have to take a part in it. And so that's what we do on our side. And Mark, I'd like to close with you on some of your ideas on what we can do to combat this issue as a society as a whole.
Well, first, thank you. It's humbling to be here and be a part of this discussion. If you knew my life and my background, to wind up at the table here is a gift. And what brought me here mostly is I met the owner of Your Recovery, and boy, just listening to her for 15, 20 minutes, I knew it. I knew that it was coming from a genuine spot. And when she mentioned about the scholarships and that, you know, if you show up at our door and you're penniless and you're hopeless or worse off helpless, you guys are there. And I'm telling you, that's a big factor in the industry that has been dwarfed by how much money can we make off that poor soul. So I'm here. I want to be part of it. I look forward to being associated with it in any capacity. And I'll, in future discussions, I'll discuss more about individually what I've noticed from the community, where I think some things have fallen short, and where I think we're going as a society, as a world. If we don't grab a hold of this, it'll just be survival of those who have more than the other. And so here we are. Let's get the doors open and let's get some people healed.
Absolutely. And thank you for mentioning that. If you do need help, for anyone listening, Your Life Recovery's admissions line is 561-877-4027. 561-877-4027. That is a 24-hour line. If you need help, please call. If you don't have insurance, if you only have Medicare or Medicaid, if we can't help you, we can find someone who can. And we do offer scholarships, and we do have a waiting list, and we're here to do our part to help solve this issue that affects all families in the U.S. We just have one more minute left here, Walt. Is there anything that you want to add before we close?
Yeah, I think, thank you. Again, I'm honored to be here, and I really appreciate the opportunity to both listen and to share some thoughts. I think people need to understand that recovery is possible. One of the changes we saw in the last 5 to 10 years before I finally retired from the campus world was that recovery was in fact possible, and we worked with a number of folks that actually wanted to bring recovery out into the open and began to do some films about quote-unquote famous people that were in successful recovery. And so there is a lot of hope there, and I think the future will be to promote recovery and let people know about those people that are successful in recovery, although it's a hard road. it is happening. There are people that have beaten this thing, and I think we have to balance any discussion with that notion that I'm sure your center is dedicated to hoping that your clients recover. So I wanted to just put that pitch in. Everyone out there, recovery is possible. You do have to do a lot of work, and you have to acknowledge that there is a problem. So thank you, James, for having me here. I appreciate it.
Thank you guys both for being on. As we close, there's so much stigma here still in this country about this issue, and our goal here, and I think any goal of any treatment center, is to raise awareness for this issue, is to let people know, like you said, Walt, that help is available. We as a country, I think we're continuing in a positive direction, and we're going to continue to make strides in this issue. And I just want to thank you guys for being on the show to help spread awareness. Again, Your Life Recovery Center, their admissions line is 561-877-4027. They're located on the Bethesda East Hospital Complex, and their address is 2623 South Seacrest Boulevard, Boynton Beach, Florida, 33435.
Sure.
This has been Tell Us Your Business, where a special guest comes on every week and tells us what they do. All shows can be seen on amp2.tv, and if you wish to be a guest, call 866-224-5422 and tell us about your business. That's 866-224-5422. This has been an amp2.tv production.